بالتعاون مع المندوبية الجهوية للتربية بتطاوين، إذاعة تطاوين تقدم إذاعة الباكالوريا. إذاعة الباكالوريا اليوم مادة الانقليزية مع الاستاذ الحوات.
Good evening to all Tataouine radio listener. Good evening to all the students. Good evening to back students, and good evening to everybody who is interested in English language. You are listening to Tataouine radio program with the back students, broadcasted in English language and presented today by Mr. اليحياوي and Mr. الحوات. Before we start, let me thank all the people who take part in the preparation of this program for their efforts, and with a great thanks to the technician Abdel Mrahi for his efforts to carry on this program. I would like also to thank my colleague Mr. اليحياوي, who joined this program to come through some tips to improve writing style and skills. The last session was about some language activities. Today, with the help of Mr. الدين, we are going to deal with some writing activities, or which is the last part of the back exam. Before I give the way to Mr. الدين, I would like to mention the writing components. I mean the different types of writing activities and their contents. The writing task in the back exam is usually divided into two parts. The first part is a guided writing exercise, and here the students are given some notes, some expression or words to use them as a guide to write a paragraph or to write a report. The second part is a production task, or what is known as free writing exercise. The students are given a topic and they have to comment, to express opinion, or to give arguments. Mr. الدين, good evening, and you are welcome in Tataouine Radio and with the back student program.
Good evening, Mr. Ali, and first of all, thank you for this kind invitation, and also we want to welcome everybody to this series of improving back results or marks, and hope you enjoy the tips and the different activities that you will be detailing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. الدين, and you are welcome again. So today I think you are going through some writing tips. I mean, what are the steps or what are the details maybe the student need while they are dealing with any writing activity?
Well, so as we all know, the writing section consists of two parts, as we know. And unfortunately, most of our students, they tend to whether neglect or they don't give enough time for this section, and this for sure will impact their marks. That's why we'll focus mostly on the second part, which is the free writing.
I would like to say that most of the people do not give enough time to the last part, to the writing part, which is very, very important in their exam, and I think the mark is 12 out of 12, I think, yes. Or it's 15 out of 15 for the arts students. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Mr.
So it's almost 1/4 of the whole or the overall marks. So it deserves the best that you should put in. For this, we'll be focusing mostly on the second part, on the essay, as we said, because that's the most part which is not dealt with in the test, and in which most of our students face certain problems. So to deal with, first we'll be speaking about the topic.
You are going to deal with the free writing?
The free writing, yes. So, as you know, the pre-writing, which is most of the time short paragraphs, and most of the time the information is already given. So what is asked from the student is just to develop or to link or to make certain or short sentences. But the main problem faced by students would be on the second part of the writing section, which is the free writing, in which students most of the time are asked to write paragraphs, to give their opinions, to write introduction, conclusions, and to make all this coherent within the 12 line, which is a tough task, especially for the students who are weak and students who are not used to writing. So I will try to highlight most of the things you should do and the things that you should avoid through this step.
Okay, so you are going to talk about the writing process first, I think, huh?
Process, okay. So the first thing, as we know, that students see is the topic, of course. So that's the thing that, or the starting point for writing. For this, you need, after reading the topic carefully, you need to point out the keywords.
So I think here they should read and reread the topic.
Yes,
so I think the first reading, it's not enough.
No, it's not enough for sure. So you need to read and reread again in order to understand the topic well. Okay, so that's the gate to writing. And in order to make the task easier and to get into the point as fast as possible, you need to point out the keywords in your topic. So not all, as we know, the topic consists of words, and not all words have the same importance. Some words are key to the topic and you need to focus on them.
Yes, here the student have to underline the keywords and explain them, I think.
Yes, try to paraphrase them if they are difficult enough, or just to give them enough importance. If all the topic is around these words, then they should be considered when coming to the next steps that you will deal with in the writing process. So first of all, you need to, after reading the topic, you need, after getting these words that we have spoken about, you need to know what, why, and who. These are the three questions that you should answer before starting anything.
Surely, yes.
Okay?
So they have to answer three questions. First, who,
what
the first,
what,
why, and who. So what is...
what are you going to write?
To write.
Type of writing first.
Yes. So the type, you mean a paragraph or an article or a letter or something like this.
So, as you know, not all writings have the same style or the same type of writing. You need to specify first what are you writing, whether it is a letter or when you are writing a letter. It's not the same when you are writing an article or writing a story, for example, or writing a reply to a friend. So it depends. First of all, you need to know what are you writing.
Okay, good. So this is the first question. The second question is why.
Why?
So you mean why are you writing?
Reason.
The reasons.
The reason why are you writing means no one, as you know, no one writes for no purpose or no reason.
Yes.
So when you put in the pen in your hand, you have a certain purpose or a certain intention in your mind, and this helps you stay focused on your purpose and your target. And that's the question why. So you need to.
So you need to write for a purpose or for a goal.
Yes, you must have a purpose.
Okay. So the last question is who, and here who is a person. It's a question for a person.
Yes. So who is the? So who is the audience? Your audience.
You mean to whom you are writing?
Yes, who will be reading your writing? When we write for someone to read, so you must first know who will be reading your writing, and this affects your style of writing and your language, whether it is formal or informal. So when you write to your applying for a job, it's not the same when you write asking for information from your friend or asking about details from a family member. So first, question number 3, as we said, is who the audience. You must know your audience. You must have a purpose or intention in your mind.
Good.
And you must consider or keep in mind the type of writing, because that affects the layout and the different parts later.
Okay, so here I can say that whenever you have read the topic, you underline and you highlight the keywords. You have to ask these 3 questions: what are you writing? Okay, and why? It means what is your goal, what is your purpose, and who is going to read your piece of writing. Okay,
sure.
Yes, go on.
Now, as we have these things clear in mind, we start by generating the ideas which are related to your topic. So, if you
this is the second step, huh?
The second step.
Good.
Okay. So, if you are going to now, we have a certain topic and a certain idea. We need to generate ideas related to that topic, or whether positive or negative, it doesn't matter. So, just jot down any ideas which are related to that topic. Some students will ask that this task sometimes is difficult, especially under the pressure of the test and the pressure of time, etc. Yes. So sometimes they get confused, or they claim that arguments are difficult to single out or to get. So here we have you can use certain techniques which help you save time and get these ideas easily. As you know, Mr. Ali, some of these techniques can be diagrams that we have been using most of the time in class to generate some ideas. Right. So we just draw a diagram and single out any ideas which are related to that topic. And this makes the ideas clearer into your minds and keep you focused. Also,
yes, so here in the diagram you start even with words or some expression.
Any words and chunks of words.
Yes.
Okay. So that any words that comes to your mind related to that topic.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't matter whether it is directly linked, positive or negative. So we'll come to this later. Also, we can use listing, whether diagrams or listing. Some students are used to listing. Just make a short list of ideas, and this will help you generate these ideas and get arguments that you will be using later. Let's move on now to step number 3, as we have generated the ideas. Now,
so before we move to the last step, so let me explain more to the students for the second step. The second step, so whenever you have read the topic and you understand what are you asked to do, so here you have to jot down, to write all the ideas that come to your mind about this topic. So just write them, and in a second step, so you will organize them and you will make a selection for this ideas. Yes, Mr. Dean?
So that's it. So the second step is also called brainstorming.
Yes, brainstorming.
So it's just to make a storm in your brain, searching for ideas which are related to this or that topic, and makes things clearer in your mind. To a certain topic. We cannot think about millions of topics at the same time. So when you just keep your mind focused just in one topic, that will make it easier later to organize also your writing and get ideas easier. So let's move on to step 3, which is organizing these ideas. And here also comes some other techniques that we can use, which is the outline or the plan, and this is very important. So unfortunately, most of our students, as we have noticed, they neglect this step, and
they do not do a plan.
They just start writing and without knowing where they are heading. And as you know, plans or outlines, they are like a map. So if you are visiting a city for the first time,
you have to follow. Or
you will be. If that's your first visit to a city, without a map you will be lost. And here it's the same. So the topic that you will see on the test will be the first time that you see it. So you must be prepared and you must have that map. This will help you stay focused on your topic and your purpose and answer the 3 questions that we have talked about at the beginning. So one little question here, we hear from most of our students, is that this requires time, and this for them is a waste of time.
What
do you think?
Yes. So some people think that it's a waste of time, but as it is said, haste makes waste. So you have to make a plan in order to be well organized. I mean, you organize your ideas and you know what are you going to write. As Mr. Azdin said, you will not be lost because the plan is as a map to guide you or to give you direction to what are you going to write. Yes?
Good. So that's it. As you said, the time you invest at these stages will pave the way to writing later and to writing it clearly and coherently, as this will serve as a map or a guideline to stay focused on that topic. And whenever you get lost or you get confused, you just check that plan and things will be clear. And that will save you time of thinking or going back to your writing or thinking again. So when you have a plan, you just follow it and head on directly to your destination.
Yes, good. Go on. What is the next step?
So the next step surely would be writing the first draft. And
which is the most important part, I
yes,
think.
So that's the drafting. And here also we need to mention that students should write on their drafts. So as we notice that most of the students, they start writing directly on the exam paper, and that's not recommended. So it is recommended or highly recommended that you use your draft. This will avoid any mistakes or errors later to be corrected or to avoid crossing words, etc.
Okay, so you mean here the student have to write their first drafting not on the exam paper but on an extra paper to avoid mistakes, errors, etc., etc. Yes, okay.
Yes, on the draft.
Yes, what they should write in this first drafting?
So the first drafting, you just follow the outline. So if it is, for example, an article, you in your outline you will have introduction, paragraph 1, argument, paragraph 2, argument 2, argument 3. So you just follow the outline that you have made, and the outline we said is the outcome from the ideas that we have generated. We have organized these ideas. So normally now you have ordered ideas. You just follow them and develop these ideas and give certain examples. So at this stage, also we need to consider certain points while drafting or after drafting. So the first thing that you should consider is always remember to use simple, clear and short sentences. I mean, do not use a comma to link two independent sentences, and instead we can use just a full stop. So
yes, what I insist here is to write short and clear sentence. Okay, so do not write long sentences. Why? Here is to avoid mistakes.
Yes, for sure. So the shorter your sentences are, the less mistakes you may make or probably are making. Also, sometimes students write complex or very long sentences until they got lost. So,
yes.
And this also affects the structure of the sentence itself. So when it is short, that avoids you a lot of problems, and keep the reader also enjoying your writing. Okay. The next step also is to always organize your ideas and arguments in a logical order. I mean, for example, we start with problems, then we focus on the solution. Or if you have positive and negative sides in your topic, then you just organize the positive first, then the negative, or the vice versa.
Yes, you do not write them with a mixed way.
Yes, do not mix them.
Yes.
Okay? Or use them in a logical order. So normally people, when they read about a certain problem, they expect you to explain the problem, then provide them with the solution. So this keeps or guarantee your reader to finish your writing, to finish reading your writing, and that's our purpose. So no one wants to write a piece of writing which is left without a reader. Okay?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Good.
Yes, okay. Let's start again. Good evening for all, and I hope that you have enjoyed listening to the song. Okay, Mr. Azdin, let's carry on with the writing tips.
Okay, so we have stopped at organizing the ideas and arguments in logical order. Also, you need to consider other points, which is to be concise and precise. Concise means, as you know, we are limited in space. We have just 12 lines. And sometimes if you write without considering this space, you will be out of space for, of course. So you need to be concise, and this links back to...
And maybe you will have a lot of mistakes if you write more than 12 lines.
So as you said, the more you write, probably the more mistakes you will, or more mistakes will occur. Also, it links back to our points that we said, make your sentences short.
Yes.
Okay. So be concise and precise. Precise, we mean don't talk too general. Sometimes students, they just talk too general about the topic, or in some situations they keep on the article as an introduction for the topic, not just to go directly to the point. So
it means you go deeper into the topic, huh?
Yes. So sometimes you talk too general.
Yes.
So just go into the point.
And as we know, whenever you are writing about any topic, so you move from general to specific.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the way to write about.
Good.
Yes.
So also you need to avoid certain sentences. We call them boring sentences. Like, for example, in the introduction, you just repeat the topic, or you just write, I'm writing to convince you. So normally we convince people with arguments and with ideas, not we convince them by telling them we want to convince you. Yes. So it's better to go directly, as we said, to use arguments, convincing sound arguments, not just repeating the topic over and over again.
And maybe we have to avoid also ready-made sentences.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready-made sentences, ready-made paragraphs.
Yes.
So the reader, because each topic deserves a way to address the reader that you are talking to. So it's not recommended that you just memorize a certain ready-made paragraph or a certain ready-made arguments and throw them in front of the reader. So it's always better to use your own writing style and your own words. So this matters a lot, especially for the person who is going to correct. As you know, here we are assessed. So these ready-made sentences or paragraphs, we have come through most of them. So it's useless to repeat them. It's better to make your own touch and use your own words. So can we move now to certain types of writings which are repeated most of the time, or which are likely to face or likely that our students will find in the writing section?
Yes, this is in the back exam and even in the tests during the year, I think.
Yes, so also during the year and also for other sections. Here we are addressing the back students, but in fact we are talking to all the students because it is almost the same process and the same sections in the test, and we are speaking here or addressing the back student because it's
so to all the back student with all the sections.
Yes, all sections and all students, and also this we want this to be a habit also for other students to be prepared before they come to the back exam. They find themselves already prepared and ready for this test. Okay, so as you know, Mr. Ali, most of the free writing are whether articles or letters.
Yes.
Most of the time. So that's why we'll be focusing on these two types of writing and things that you should avoid and things that you should put in your writing. First of all, we start with the argumentative article. Can you define what's an argumentative article?
Yes, so argumentative article is to give your argument, whether you are for or against. So whether you agree or disagree, you accept or you not accept the idea mentioned in the topic.
Good.
Yes.
So here we said it's argumentative article and argumentative from the verb to argue, which is to give your opinion. So most of the time when we have argumentative article, you are supposed to give a clear idea or a clear opinion or point of view.
Yes.
So that's why you have three types of argumentative articles or three types of opinions that you can hold if you have this topic.
So what are they?
Number one, which is, as you mentioned, to be for example, for a certain topic. The second, which is to be against, the opposite, and to be for and against at the same time, which is biased opinion.
Yes, so here for argumentative writing, piece of writing or topic, so should the student write first paragraph about whether he is for, the second paragraph is he is against, or what he should do, the student here?
Yes, so that's we will detail in the coming tips.
Go.
So we have it. Okay.
Yes.
So as we said, you have three options toward any controversial topic. If it is argumentative, for sure it is controversial.
Yes.
So whether positive, negative, or positive and negative at the same time.
Yes.
So argumentative article have a specific outline or layout when it comes to making your plan. So you need to consider it. The first thing is that you should state your opinion clearly in the introduction. So paragraph 1 must be the introduction, and it must.
It means here, as it is said, you have to raise your flag from the beginning.
From the beginning, you must be clear. However, sometimes this opinion could be implicit. Sometimes it's explicit. But in certain topics, for example, as you know, some topics people are against certain views, so you should express your opinion implicitly and convince them later with your arguments. So if the reader discover that you are, for example, against a certain topic, then they would stop reading. So
Maybe,
you need to track them and if you can say trick them.
To make him follow you.
Yes, to read your arguments, to convince by arguments, not convince them by just words.
Yes.
But what we need to mention also here, the opinion or the introduction, the first paragraph must be short. It's a short paragraph in which you state your opinion clearly, whether explicitly or implicitly. We need here also to mention something which is affected by other subjects, as you know, like philosophy and history and geography.
Yes.
Most of our students, they tend to use questions in the introduction, and that's not recommended in English. So we are supposed.
You do not need to ask a question.
No need to write questions. For example, what are the advantages of television? What are the implications of pollution, etc. So, because we are writing, simply we want to explain and we want to provide answers. So you are supposed to answer these questions, not to ask them.
To ask them, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Next, it comes after you have finished the first paragraph. It comes other paragraph 2, 3, and 4.
So these are the supporting paragraphs.
Good. The supporting. So number 1, you have stated that you have a certain opinion.
Yes.
The reader will ask himself why. So you need to convince for this opinion. And convincing, you must use your arguments, supporting arguments. So you should support your ideas with sound arguments, and your arguments, of course, with clear examples if it is possible. So the more example you provide, the better it is. As we know, because examples are real or concrete facts, so this will convince the reader better.
So here the example can be taken from what they have studied during the year.
Yes, during the year, or it could be also general knowledge.
Knowledge,
okay?
yes.
So facts they can use. Okay.
Okay.
Also here we need to mention one mistake that common mistake, which is that students, they use more arguments just in one paragraph. So just by adding conjunctions like and, but, etc. So just have 2 or 3 arguments together in one paragraph, and that's not recommended.
So they should write the first argument in the first paragraph and then move to another argument or an idea in the second paragraph.
Yes, that's it. So one paragraph means one argument. So you just state the argument, explain this argument, or try to clear what do you want to say.
Yes.
Next, you support this argument with an example, and this will be the best way to deal with these ideas. Good. Also, we need to mention that you must start with the most important argument. That's also an important question. Our students may say, which argument should I use first? How many arguments should I use? So it is better to use the most important argument
should they use many arguments or just to take only 2 or 3 arguments?
Yes, so you mean the number of arguments?
Yes, the number
how many
of
arguments?
Yes.
And that's a recurrent question.
Yes.
How many arguments and which argument should I use first?
Yes.
How many arguments generally you must use, or it is recommended to use if you have one stand, one point of view, whether you are just for or you are just against, you just use 3 arguments.
Yes,
so that's
good.
better. So if you use just one argument, the reader would think that you don't have enough ideas, enough arguments, and your stand is not that strong. So it is better to use 3 arguments. If you use 3 arguments, that's enough. It's not short, and it
means
long.
More than 1 and less than 4, for example.
Yes, less than 4. So if it is more than 4, then it would be too long, and the reader may be discouraged to finish your writing.
Good.
And that's not what we want. So it is recommended to use 3 arguments. So step number 2, we have generated the ideas and organized them.
Yes.
You just go back to the steps and select the 3 most important arguments you think are convincing for your reader, and then organize them from the most important to the least important. Okay.
That's the third type, I think, of.
Good. So also we can here also add another tip, which is if we have argumentative article, controversial topics.
Yes.
Most of the time you can have topics in which you have an opinion for and against at the same time. But here I always advise my students to just stick to one stand, which is one point of view, whether for or against, simply because this will affect the time, and they will not have enough time to focus on both. So if the topic accepts one stand, then choose one stand. There is no need for stressing or.
So maybe here, if they use 2 opinions, so it will be confusing.
Yes.
For the reader himself, I think.
You need to use 2 separate, 2 opposite advantages and disadvantages, 2 separate arguments, and this will consume time. And
yes.
Also you need to consider the different points that we have said, whether thinking about examples, thinking about good explanation of your arguments, and sometimes you have a certain stand, you are more positive than negative or more negative than positive, so this will make or add a little bit of confusion for the reader. So it is better to stick just to one stand, and that way you play safe.
Yes.
Here also, if you are writing an argumentative article, you should also be or try to be as conversational as possible. Means you try to engage the reader. Do not just give simple explanations, just or imaginary examples. So just be as conversational as possible, as if you are talking to the person directly. This will make the reading journey or the reading for the person much enjoyable and
exciting,
and he or she would finish reading your article. Good. So here we are done with the argumentative article. Now we can move on to the second type.
Yes, which is, I think, a letter.
The letter,
yes,
so
good.
The famous letter. As you know, the letters, we have different types of letters, so it will take a long time to specify all of them, but we'll speak in general about the most important things you should consider when writing a letter.
So you mean a general idea about writing a letter?
common things you should consider. So when we talk about letters, as you know, there are two forms, whether formal or informal.
So here you mean the layout?
Yes, formal or informal. We mean business or friendly letters. When you decide...
Yes, could you explain what does it mean, informal and formal letter?
Yes, so we said formal letters, mainly they are business letters, like letters of application, applying for a certain job.
Yeah.
Letter of complaint, if you have bought something and you are dissatisfied, you just write a letter. Informal letters are friendly letters, which are letters between friends or family members.
Yes, good.
Okay. So these two types of letters, they are each one has a different characteristics and different layout and different language.
Good.
So we don't talk to our friends as when we talk to our family members, or we talk with our directors or businessmen, etc.
Yes.
So here
a person who you do not know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here you need to mind the layout of the letter you are writing.
Yes.
And the language too. So when you say the layout, means the organization of the letter. So the address, the greeting, the date, reason for writing, complimentary closure, signature, etc. So these are different. These are necessary parts in your letter.
Yes.
Okay.
To make the reader know that it's a letter.
Yes, it's a formal letter, and that's the layout organization in general. Also, you must mind the language, whether formal or informal. So when you say formal, means there should be no short forms, there should be no informal expressions like hi, like bye, etc.
So these words can be used only in informal letters.
Informal letters. So in informal letters you can use that kind of expressions.
Yes.
So now we can move on to the other section, which is related to punctuation and mechanics. As you know, punctuation is part of writing.
Yes, so it's a very important part in writing. Yes.
So, but unfortunately, it's not given that importance.
Yes.
So here we need to mention that punctuation serves a big role in.
So here, punctuation, you mean full stops, commas, semicolon, capital letters, etc. So everything that is related to the writing. Yes.
That's also what we call mechanics. So what makes your article look like an article or your letter look like a letter. So when we talk about mechanics, you need to consider starting a new paragraph whenever there is a change of subject. Sometimes students, they keep on writing without stopping, without putting any full stops or commas or exclamation or question marks, etc. So it is better to start a new sentence whenever there is a change of subject.
So the idea here without punctuation will be confusing.
Yes.
And maybe sometimes unreadable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the message may be lost between the lines. So your writing will be much better if you use the appropriate linkers and communicative expressions. So there are certain linkers, as you know, that we should use, and these linkers serve a certain purpose, which is to make your writing coherent, your writing enjoyable to read, and your message clearer.
Yes.
Okay? Sometimes these linkers, they just exceed their role, which is coherence. They also make your paragraphs shorter and your message clearer. Yes, your message go through. Next, it is also recommended to use certain proverbs and saying. As you know, these proverbs or saying, they have magic to convince your audience with the minimum of words. We are playing on number of words, but we are not playing on the message. So we should keep the same message. We should convince these people about a certain topic, for example. But as you know, we are limited in space. So
maybe these proverbs and saying, as it is said, add spices to your piece of writing.
Yes. So
yes.
They add a certain magic on the reader, so the message will be received or conveyed clearly with the minimum of words, and that's what we want. So the less you write, and the maximum you convey. And also this also has an effect on the reader or the corrector on this, if it is in our case for the back students. So this shows that the student has a certain background, has a certain hold of the language, knows much of this target language, and this convinces that sometimes even if you make certain mistakes, while using proverbs and saying shows that you hold a strong or a good style of writing.
Yes.
Good. So when we say proverbs and sayings here, we do not ask our students to have a long list of proverbs and sayings, which is most hard. So we just, or at least you must know one or two proverbs for each lesson or each topic. So for example, for education, for inventions, for creation.
Yes, for each unit.
Yes, for each theme or each topic, at least one or two.
They have to learn one or two proverbs.
One or two proverbs to help them. So it also helps them summarize the unit. Sometimes you can summarize the unit just in one proverb or in one saying. Next, you move on to punctuation. Is also related to handwriting, which is very important, as you know, Mr. Ali. So you must make your handwriting as clear as possible for the reader to get the intended message or idea. So
you mean here the handwriting must be clear and readable?
Readable, yes.
Yes.
In order for your message to get conveyed. Okay. So if your handwriting is not that clear, so the message will not go through. You need also to invest. So if your handwriting is not clear, no problem. But if it is not, or it is really confusing, sometimes you confuse letters. So you need to invest a little bit of time in making this handwriting clear.
Yes. Okay. So please mind your handwriting, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Yes. So what should we do after writing?
Okay. So we are done now with most of these tips.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you know, if you still have any confusing remarks or any suggestion you want to make, you just comment them. Okay. Now we are almost done with the writing or drafting. So, also after drafting, the mission is not finished. So, some students think when they finish drafting or finish writing the topic, the mission is accomplished.
Mm-hmm. So what should they do here?
Yes, so here part of or 50% of the mission is accomplished, but you need to carry on the process as the process is not finished. So that's at that stage, proofreading is a must. So you must proofread your draft. I mean, you read your work over when you have finished, because always there are words that need changing or errors to correct.
Yes, so here proofreading, it means you have to read again your writing in order to know whether there are some mistakes or some words which are not clear, some expression maybe that you have to change their order, etc.
Yes,
okay,
that's what we mean. So to come through your writing or to come back to the different paragraphs or the different ideas that you have and try to check them, searching for errors, mistakes, because no one writes perfect writing the first time. So you need always to make this adjustment and modifications to make it perfect. And this will take us to another remark, which is that the student want to write a good piece of writing as fast as possible, but as you know, becoming a good writer takes time.
Yes.
And it cannot come over one night. This means you need to get used to writing, and our students or most of our students are not used to writing. Then it comes practice. At this stage it comes practice, and when we say practice, it's not just practicing in the test, practicing while in class or at home.
So for practicing, I think they should start even with writing a sentence. Okay, start with a sentence, yes, and then make two sentences, use linkers, and then until you write a paragraph.
Yes, 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 that's it. So, which means you need to get used to writing. and it comes with practice. As you know, practice makes perfect.
Yes.
And you should get used to the writing process too. So, and we get used to something only through practicing it or writing as much as you can. So here you should get used to the writing process through the different assignments that we have, whether in class or at home. Here it is highly recommended to have a diary. As you said, Mr. Ali, students should start writing simple sentences
yes.
until they can write paragraphs, and later they can write articles or long essays. So if you are having a diary, this will help you write your daily happenings, for example, short sentences, what happened to you in daily basis. That will have a huge impact in improving your writing style, as writing becomes a routine in a positive way. Also, try to picture the person you are writing to standing in front of you while you are writing. Imagine the things that you would say to them and write them down, because this will help you write relevant details. Sometimes when you imagine the person who will read your writing, this helps you get certain ideas. Also use the teacher feedback and use the correction code in order to correct your mistakes and avoid making them again. As you know, at the beginning of the year, students got used to the correction code.
Yes.
And teachers, they just use this correction code in order to help them correct these mistakes themselves. Okay, so it is better to correct your mistakes when you get back your writings from your teachers. If you are writing at home, also it is recommended to use a dictionary to check spelling of words. Sometimes students got used to writing words in a wrong way. So if you got used to this spelling or that spelling, later it will be difficult to get rid of that habit. So it is better always to check the spelling of words. And nowadays with the mobile phones, you just the mission becomes
easy.
Very easy. So just check it in your mobile. Also here, what we recommend our students is also to use English as much as they can. Here it comes, for example, if they are using the social media or using their mobiles, so just try to interact with their friends using simple English short sentences. So this helps improve their writing a lot. Also, I would like to end with this tip, which is, if you want to be a good writer, then you must be a good reader. I mean, you must be exposed to what and how people write, then you can do likewise. So reading is also one of the most important activity you should give importance to if you want to improve and develop your writing style, and later you will get the result and the impact on your writing styles, especially in exams.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zdin, and you are welcome again. Thank you all the listener, and thank you all the back student. Until we meet again in a new session. So let me thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Ali, and all the best to our students. And I hope that this series help you improve your skills.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Azdin, and you are welcome again on this program. Thank you.